Happy Friday, beautiful souls, and welcome to Spiritually Her. This is your safe space to explore the magic of inner work, grow your confidence, and embrace your self worth as the ultimate superpower. I'm Terrika-Surrenity, your host and guide on this transformative journey. Here, we're breaking barriers, we're rewriting our stories, and stepping fully into that girl energy together. So grab your favorite drink, let's settle in, and let's vibe. Your next level starts right now. Hey guys! All right, guys. So this is Terrika-Surrenity, the hostess with the mostest, and I just want to say happy Friday to you guys. And I'm really happy that you found your way to an episode of Spiritually Her. Just want to send out my gratitude and send you guys air hearts and air hugs as always. Now, we do have a very interesting topic that we're going to get into, and per the usual, this week has been filled with so much confirmation and downloads intuitively based on this topic. And I feel that this is a topic that will help the collective. And for the collective, I feel like this is a group of people who we are all in alignment. And when I say that, I'm saying that as if like we're all in alignment where we're all probably not in the exact same space, but we're all on the same journey and maybe having similar experiences, whether it's at the same time or we have encountered them, period, at all, at least. But we're going to talk about how this generational cycle stops with you. We're also going to dive deep into those generational cycles and patterns and how we can transmute our pain and alchemize it because we're that fucking powerful. And honestly, it allows us to have some sort of control on how we deal with our pain and our trauma and how we can turn something that is negative into something that is positive. So, for one, I just want to say breaking generational cycles is not for the weak. It can be very heavy, it can be messy, and honestly, half of the time it feels like we're out here fighting battles that aren't even ours to fight. But the good thing is that most of us, we were chosen for this. And when I say that we were chosen, I honestly feel like with the generational curses, we have been chosen either through our ancestors or just being in alignment to our higher selves to end whatever this cycle is, this trauma is that happens within our lineage. And we have to do the work so that it doesn't roll over and fall upon the laps of the descendants of ours because we're chosen for this. Now, I know some of y'all are probably like, but girl, it's a lot of shit. And I don't know if I'm really ready to take it on. But the thing is that being chosen doesn't mean it will be easy, but it is stating and confirming that you are the one who is capable. of doing such. So, today we're going to talk about how we stop carrying pain that wasn't meant for us, or even if there was some individualized pain or trauma that you're holding on to that is personalized to just you. We're talking about how we can turn that shit into power. Now, for this episode is for people who've ever felt like the black sheep in your family. If you've ever caught yourself mirror I cannot say this word, mirroring patterns you swore you'd never repeat. Or even if you just know deep down that you're the one that's sent to break the cycle, then honey baby iced tea, then this episode is for you. All right. All right. So first we're going to dive into how we can see the signs or how we can know if we are the cycle breaker. How do we know that we're receiving signs that it is on us to end the cycles or the patterns? So, first thing first, how do you know if you're this generational cycle breaker? It's because, let's be real, not everyone is built for this type of work. But strong chances are that if you're listening to this right now, you are. Now, based off of my own experience, because I do know for a fact that I have been chosen to end certain cycles and patterns within myself, within my own life, and also past lives, but then also the cycles of my lineage, my generation, my ancestors. And based off of that information and my experience, and also the research of other remarkable people who have alchemized their pain, things that were sent to destroy them or may have destroyed people before them within their family, how they were able to stop that cycle. So, based off of my research, I came up with some telltale signs on how you know. Now, the first sign is you feel different from your family, almost as if you don't fully fit in. And when it comes down to the black sheep, it's like it's a hard place to be when you feel different. Or you feel like, I know for me, per se, feeling as if I am the black sheep, it was more so than feeling it in my immediate family. Although I was the baby and I felt like I was the troublemaker and I was the one who was seen more so in a negative light because I was very strong willed and very free spirited, so to say. But I mostly felt this black sheep within the overall family. So within like secondary cousins, first cousins, within um, the aunts, uncles, so things like that, where I felt like I just didn't quite fit. And it was mostly because of intuitively, I knew I've always been spiritual. I was always drawn to things of, I don't want to say it's of the dark, but it can be looked at as that way from growing up in a very religious family and a religious household where these spiritual gifts and these experiences that I've had, it was almost as if like that girl is crazy or that girl is just different and we can't really put our finger on it. So I did feel like the black sheep. I did have my moments where I connected with family, I connected with cousins, and I connected with, my aunts, uncles, and everything. But who I am authentically would not be acceptable or understood, which indeed, for a fact, let me know that I was a black sheep just by being who I am fully to its core. So, if you can resonate with that, that's the first telltale sign on how to know. Another sign is you see the toxic patterns clear as day. And it's just this strong feeling that they just don't sit right with you. Oftentimes, when you are the black sheep of the family, you can have a lot of alone time, or you can have periods of moments where you're not really in connection with everyone, where you might be on the outskirts to see things from a broader perspective. And you can see the cycles, you can see the hurts, the toxicity of everything that is around you. And it's just something in you that is just like, how come no one else is seeing this or noticing this? Or why aren't we speaking up on this habit? Why are we sweeping things under the rug? And honestly, when you are the chosen person to break this cycle, it almost paints you out to be the bad guy because you see these things that aren't right, but no one is addressing them because it's like this is the norm, but it doesn't have to be. And when you speak up about things that people don't want to acknowledge, or they just don't want to face it and they're in denial because you challenge them in their comfortability, in their safe zone of not speaking on it, it paints you out to be the bad person and to be even more exiled, even though you see it as this isn't right and we need to change this and it's all out of love. You might still be exiled, but that's just one of the traits on how you can know. Now, there's another. If you've ever caught yourself mirroring habits from your childhood, so this could be if your relationship with money, how you handle your romantic relationships, your friendships, connections, or even how you handle your emotions. That is a major one. Because a lot of the times, and I actually did a tarot reading on, actually, I just pulled the cards, and the cards was basically saying for the collective, this conversation needed to be had on this cycle breaking generational curses, and not having this fear of becoming your family. Because I feel that with this collective, we might be noticing some habits or some traits that we have picked up along the way that may still from our childhood. And when we think back or reminisce on that experience, it wasn't a pleasant experience, but because we still experienced it and we try so hard not to be what we saw or experienced, sometimes we may still maneuver or mimic those types of behaviors because it's almost like we we've acknowledged the behavior, but we haven't healed that cycle yet. And we're noticing that this cycle is starting to continue. And once you notice yourself mirroring, it's almost like a aha moment of, "Ooh, I caught you. Okay, so we need to heal through this. We need to acknowledge this, work through it so I do not pass it down." So, if you've caught yourself mimicking some of those behaviors, I know for me, I have caught myself mirroring. mm, I don't want to say I got, I wish I would have mirrored my mom's money, um, her relationship with money, because my mom, she's a great, like she budgets in a way that is profound. Like, she tried to teach me, but honestly, me and my ADHD, my impulsivity, and me being very free spirited, I'm like, I spend the money, it will return. Like but my mom, she's more of like a budgeter, and she's very thorough and very planned. So I wish I would have picked that up from her. However, I can say that things that I have noticed that I've picked up from my parents that I may see as could be a toxic pattern that I need to heal and transmute and etc. was my relationships. I don't want to, you know, put out my mom's business or anything like that, but I feel like I did pick up a little of that. Well, here's the thing. It's like I can understand my mom's patterns or cycles within her relationships, and I understand them even more now as a 32-year-old divorced mother. So I can understand her choices and why she did the things that she did and chose the people that she chose, which were all three great, great men. Well, my father, awesome. And with my father deceased, my mom was remarried. And she's now married now to her third husband. And honestly, I can say that I admired my mom because she was like this goddess. And let me just break it down and explain it to you guys. It's like, how like when you grow up and you see this couple that may have been together 30 years or something, and you can see how toxic this marriage may be. But everyone glorifies the union because they remain together. However, you do not see that woman happy, or you don't see that man happy. And it almost seems as if, especially being a black sheep, because you might see things for what it actually is. But for me, when I see that, it's like I see people settling. It's almost like I will stay with the devil I'm with than to put myself out there to find my own happiness or someone who's more aligned to me. So, I will say that I admired that my mom, she had this self worth and this confidence that I know I'm a good woman. I know that I'm beautiful. If you do not give me the type of love, respect, and appreciation that I know that I deserve, you are no longer in alignment to me. And I can honestly say I admired that. And it's not a toxic trait at all, but I do find myself in places to where sometimes I may be ready to call it quits over the smallest things. And maybe I could have learned along the way on how to, I guess, get through the hurdles. And I'm not saying that my mom didn't get through. the hurdles because she had very long marriages in each marriage. But it's maybe because I only took in like, oh, she don't have to settle, and she's going to go and find her happiness even if that is within herself and by herself. I admired that, but sometimes I can be so independent when it comes to relationships that my mom has raised me to not be dependent on a man. So sometimes it's hard for me to allow a man to actually be the man, so to speak, because I can be sometimes super independent. And that's something that I have to work on within myself so I can change this cycle. Although I don't have any daughters, but it's the fact that I have sons. And if my sons grow up and see me just being super independent and super doing everything and not doing XYZ, then they're going to see the woman. This is what the woman does. She handles everything. And I just can't allow that. So this is where this generation cycle, for me, I have to stop because I find myself mirroring habits from childhood and etc. So for you guys, it could be within relationships or it could be through your emotions and how you communicate. Maybe you may be used to, you know, throwing hands when you in an altercation, or you can't handle your emotions because you have seen these types of behaviors growing up, that it is almost like normal for you to, because this is what you have been shown and seen. But now when you recognize these things, it's like, okay, maybe this is not the best thing for me to do, but now I have to heal and go through this in the best way that I can to heal this so that way it won't trickle down. All right. I know that was a lot that I said, but the last sign to know how is that you feel this deep, unshakable urge to change things, not just for you, but for the next generation. It's almost like you were born to be the one to say, no, this stops with me. Now, when we're going into the alchemy of transmutation, so turning your pain into power. So now we know we're the one breaking the cycle, but what about the alchemy of it? Because it's not just about seeing the problem, it's about taking all that pain, all that trauma, all those why did this happen to me moments and turn them into something greater. Now, when it comes to the alchemy of it, this could be whatever childhood pain you have from your family. This can even just be childhood trauma that you have specifically for yourself, even if it doesn't even if it doesn't trickle down through family. This alchemy can be implemented in any part of your life where there is some sort of negative experience, some sort of pain, how you can utilize that, transmute that into the power and turn it into something greater. And it's almost like a work of art. you know, it's the feeling it without becoming it. Like, yes, you had that experience, but it is not who you are. It's about acknowledging what hurt you or who hurt you without letting it or them define who you are. Also, learning how to break free instead of breaking down. Even if, because sometimes for me, I'm just going to speak on my own personal experience. For me, I myself have my own trauma about my own personal pain that was on the road and the route of me breaking down as a young girl. And I'm not even going to bring up my family. I would just talk about my own personal experience. For me, and this is going to be a lot, guys. I guess we're getting like real personal here. Um, okay. When I think I was 12. When I was 12, I had a situation to happen to where I was trying to see the best way to say this and get my emotions together, but I've healed through it and I'm alchemizing it. So, but sometimes because I've only told a few people about this, so I'm just being open and vulnerable with you guys because I know that my story and me overcoming and becoming is not just for me, it's for other people. So, anyway, I had this situation to happen when I was 12 where I was sexually assaulted by a grown man um, who I was not that familiar with. And I was forced to do drugs. And if you are wondering what drug that was, it was all I can say it was in a dollar bill and a credit card. And I had to use my nose. And being that young, I have seen movies, so I knew that it was drugs. I didn't know what it was until I got older. But I was forced to. And then, which honestly felt like an outer body experience as it was happening. Um, yeah. Okay, guys. And yeah, and then I was also offered up to two more males. However, when it came down to me being offered to the first one, um, the guy, I'm thankful for whatever angel was there or whatever conscience this man had, but he asked me how old I was because I think that he was on I think he was unaware that I would be a minor. And I told him my real age that I was 12, and he just whispered in my ear and said, I gotta get you out of here. And guys, um I just remember being thankful and I was just like, please get me out of here. I was kind of loopy and etc. But um that guy found a way to get me home and I didn't want him to know where I lived and um yeah. And so um I was dropped off a few blocks from my home and walked home and cried and I didn't tell my mother or my sister about it until I'll say probably a year ago from now. So I held on to that. And honestly, when I say that experience, that experience made me want to break down, not break free. It made me want to break down. I became I grew into a mental space of I didn't want to live. I didn't care what happened to me. I didn't know how to process what had happened. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I could talk to, and I basically dealt with that by myself for several years. And I always tell my oldest son that when I got pregnant with him 2 years later, which was a free will encounter that he saved my life because only when I got pregnant with him, I knew I had to live my life and I had a purpose worth living for. So, how I transmuted that pain into power is not letting that break me down. Even though I hope that motherfucker give whatever karma, and I know that he will. And I just, however, what happened to me is not my story. It's a part of it. It's a major part of it. It was a turning point for me. It was an eye opener of the world. And, but I will not allow that to, because I could have easily became a girl who walked the street, a girl who, and no judgment for those who have walked that path or are still walking that path, but I could have easily chosen things. I could have easily become addicted to drugs. I could have easily become like I could have been sex trafficked. I could have been gone away from my family forever. I could have there's so many different pathways that could have happened. But instead I kept pushing forward. Like I can't let that I don't want to be this. And so when I say seeing certain people within my environment, my community, or just within my family encounter painful moments and allow themselves to break down instead of break free, that has always been a reminder that I do not want that for myself. I do not want that for my children. So if I have to go through this dark night of the soul to heal this, even if that means I have to unlearn everything that I was taught, if I have to be this person who walks this path unpaved alone, if that makes it easier for the people behind me, if me telling my story can help young girls or young men, people in general who have experienced something that I have experienced, then fine, I will do that because the cycle ends with me. And so then we come into a point of how do we actually break the cycle? Because sometimes being aware of the cycle is not enough. Sometimes we have to be about action. And this is a few things that I have done to begin the process of breaking these generational cycles. So, for the first sign is recognizing the pattern. This is where you have awareness to it. What has been passed down that stops with you? Even if it has been, for me, other people within the family who have been sexually assaulted and has been in situations that I have found myself in, but I may not be aware of it, or maybe I am aware of some people that have experience, but and who it has been done from. It's like, okay, what has been passed down and how do I stop it? And the second thing you can do after acknowledging and recognize the pattern, it is reprogram your mind. Because you don't have to repeat what you saw. You don't have to repeat what you saw. And sometimes speaking about it and healing through your stuff to help the people behind you, you have to first reprogram your mind. You have to first heal through it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to, I don't want to say cope with it, but you have to heal and process it. Because sometimes a lot of things that we deal with, the memories, the stuff that we have in our mind, it can be a lot. We put it in that back file cabinet, and sometimes we move through life having these big ass lumps underneath the carpet because we just sweep it under the rug. And sometimes we gotta lift that rug, pull it the fuck back, and we gotta go through that shit and decipher it. And then we trash it because we don't want it to linger. And the next thing you do is heal your inner child. This is when you give yourself the love and the validation that you never got. So, whatever situation that you have encountered that is personal to you, whether this was you being a teenager, if this wasn't so long ago, if you were a tiny tot, it doesn't matter. Heal your inner child because that was still a past version of you that encountered whatever pain that you encountered. So heal your inner child. And I know for me, how I healed my inner child is by doing the things that I loved to do as a child. Also, a guided meditation towards your inner child. And let me just say, that is very powerful. Very powerful meditation I did. Doing that shadow work, I'm gonna let you know now. If you haven't done the shadow work already, get prepared to cry, get prepared to feel these emotions, but I'm telling you the freedom that you feel afterwards is unmatched. Because sometimes you need to look back at that childhood you and love on her. Love on her. Because I can only imagine, like me being a mother now, looking at my kids or whoever you care about that is a child. If I just want you to picture them witnessing, encountering, or experiencing what you saw, can you only imagine the emotions, the like they're how do they comprehend this? How the emotions they're feeling from this, them being naive or not understanding what's happening, them processing what is going on from their lack of experience. But this is the experience that they're encountering. I can't and I don't want to imagine that, but this is the feeling that you get when you look back at your inner child and you look back at that inner child as an adult now. That's what it feels like. It's like you want to protect her. You know all that she's going to go through because you are her and you have experienced it. So go and heal that inner child and do things that make that inner child feel alive. If that inner child didn't have much happiness or positivity within her childhood, give that to her now. Let your inner child live through you now. All right, so the next thing is set new standards. This is where you set new standards, whether it's when if it's with your relationship with money, if it's with your relationships, even if it's with yourself, set new standards. Self-worth, your confidence, what you're willing to accept and what you're not, all of it. Set new standards. And these are boundaries and rules that even go to you and what you need to do and what you need to change. And the last thing is always choose love over fear because you are not your trauma, you are not your past, But who you are is you are a creator, a healer, and a fucking alchemist. We're not allowing what we've seen, what we've done, what we've experienced, or whatever happened to us deter us from healing, from growth, from evolving, and from stopping the cycle. We're not going to allow it to prevent us from stopping the cycle. All right, guys, I know that this episode is a little bit longer than my others, but everything happens for a reason. And I'm going to stay within alignment because I just want to say one thing before we close. And I'll just let this be my closing statement. And I want you to hear me when I say this. Please know that your pain has a purpose. No, you are not broken. You are not too much. But you are being refined, molded, and shaped into the person who will change everything. This isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And one day, whether it's your kids, your future self, or hell, even your ancestors watching over you, somebody is going to say thank you because you did the work, because you chose to heal instead of repeat, because you became the one who said, "This ends with me." And that, my love, is the realest form of alchemy there is. All right, y'all. Very philosophical, very emotional, okay? And I just want to say I thank you guys for tuning in to listening to this episode. And I hope that this episode resonated with a lot of you. If it did, share it with a friend who may also resonate with it or needs to hear this message. And comment, leave a review. I love hearing what you guys have to say. Any topics you guys would like for me to talk about. And let's just build this community and help this community grow. And let's grow as people, as healers, as women on this journey to becoming spiritually aligned and create the reality that we want that is in alignment with our higher selves. All right, guys. That's it for me. I love you guys so much. And all right, it's time for us to heal through our shit. Okay, love you. I mean it. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Spiritually Her. I hope you felt inspired, empowered, and ready to take the next step on your journey. If you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's keep the conversation going. You can connect with me on TikTok at Serenity101. That's SURRENITY 101. And on Instagram at spiritually.her. I love to hear your thoughts, breakthroughs, or even what topics you want to dive into next. Until next time, remember, your power is already within you. Keep shining and simply stay spiritually her. Bye!